Hi everybody, I'm Brianna and welcome to my Yule video. Today we are going to be talking about the symbolism of Yule and winter solstice, and we're going to be breaking down 3 ways to honor this pagan Sabbath. Yule is the first official Sabbath on the Wheel of the Year. We ended the Wheel of the Year cycle with Samhain, and now we're starting over with Yule. So it's a really potent time of rebirth and celebrating this recalibration that we've been in with the descent of the moon. The true meaning behind this time of the year is really, really beautiful. It's actually quite a gentle time on the Wheel of the Year. This is the first Sabbath in the Wheel of the Year. We end the wheel with Samhain, and at that time, that is a really, really deep time of descending into the shadows, descending into the darkness with the moon, and we often do a lot of shadow work in November and December. And with Yule, we are welcoming the return of the sun. Yule, or the winter solstice, the 21st of December, marks the darkest day of the year, and so the following day onward, we kind of get this sigh of relief because the sun is starting to come back. We kind of get that relief, like, okay, now it's time to celebrate the work that I've been doing in the darkness and in the shadows, and we can start to reclaim this rebirth within us. Yule and Christmas are not the same. Christmas was founded on the pagan traditions of Yule and winter solstice and the natural rhythms that we go through at this time of the year. Yule is a pre-Christian holiday. It is a pre-Christian pagan Sabbath, and Christmas was created as a result of stealing those traditions and then kind of rebranding them in a way. But when we can recenter with Yule, we can really tap into our divine wisdom that is mirrored within nature. And so Yule is just a really gentle time to recalibrate or celebrate the recalibration that you've been doing with Samhain. So a few bits of symbolism for Yule are that it is called Yuletide, the winter solstice, midwinter, and also the colors that you see at this time of the year, you know, those Christmas colors. Red really represents the sun and the holly king, and green is the evergreens and the ivy king. White represents light, silver is the moon and that reflection, and gold is sun and light. So for pagans, one of the traditions of Yule that we acknowledge is this battle between the Oak King and the Holly King. The Holly King represents our descent into darkness. So on the Wheel of the Year, that would be Litha to Yule. And the Oak King represents our ascension with the sun, and that looks like a celebration between Yule and Litha. So it is a balance of the light and dark parts of the year, the light and dark parts within ourselves. If you're pagan, you might know that there's a very theatrical vibe with the Oak King and the Holly King. Specifically within my coven and in our tradition, we have 2 people that play the Oak King and the Holly King, and they do this kind of theatrical bit where they're fighting each other or battling each other, and one of them wins because, you know, the sun is about to come back. So the Oak King starts to take his reign. So let's talk about 3 ways that you can honor and celebrate Yule. Tip number 1 is to make a wishing wreath. So we do this in our coven at Yule every year. We have a big wreath, and it allows us to tie wishes onto the wreath. So all of us put our wishes for the coming year onto the wreath. This is more about like the blessings that we hope will come into our life. At Samhain, we are creating intentions for the self-growth and spiritual work that we really want to do for ourselves and the things that we want to let go. And at Yule, we are really focusing on the blessings that we want to come into our life. So we tie those wishes to the wreath, and then at Imbolc or at Ostara, the witches burn those wishes and return that energy to nature so that it can start to, you know, work its magic. Tip number 2 is to craft decorations with things from nature. So obviously the biggest thing here is the Christmas tree. And the Christmas tree is actually more of a Yule tree. It's a Yule tradition, a pagan tradition. And the evergreen tree was historically brought inside, and because evergreen trees stay green all winter, all year, they really have this symbolism of everlasting life, and they also have a symbol of fertility, just this kind of tree of life cycle. I actually waited 3 years for my Christmas tree to grow, and it's 3 trees that have grown together, and I cut it down myself, and so it feels very symbolic. And also things like mistletoe or creating a Yule log. Traditionally, Yule logs are, a piece of a log that is oak or birch, but you could really use anything that you have. You drill holes in it to put candles in it, and you can decorate it with bits of evergreen and pine cones, and you can burn those candles within that log, and that is a way to represent Yule as a fire festival and as the alchemy of the season. So that's one way that you can decorate with things from nature. Other things would be obviously making your wreath. If you're going to make a wishing wreath, would kind of fall under this tip. And of course things like dehydrating orange slices. Maybe you are picking the last of your sage and your rosemary, and you're making smoke wands to cleanse your space with this rebirth of the season, of the wheel of the year. These are things that you can do with aspects of nature, and it's really fun. It's a very wholesome way to celebrate this time of the year that really focuses on the harvest and the nourishment of nature, rather than, spending our time going to stores and just buying things that we probably don't need. Tip number 3 is to do fire magic. Yule is a fire celebration. It's a fire festival. It's symbolizing that alchemy that we've been doing to transform our shadows, bring them to light with Yule and with the sun. And of course the fire can represent the return of the sun. So doing candle spells or rituals, for example, doing a cord cutting ritual with a candle. So you would have your candle lit and your cord, and you would have your intention and the pattern you want to collapse, and you would move the string through the flame and feel that cord break. And you would do that each day or until the candle is all the way melted. You could also do fire or smoke divination. Burn your herbs in your cauldron. At this time of the year, at Yule and at Samhain, I like to burn the herbs that I collect at Mabon, and so things like yarrow and mugwort, those are really great things. But for Yule specifically, anise, cinnamon, nutmeg, you can throw those in the fire. Those are really great ways to create the atmosphere of Yule. Bring in those scents that kind of make you feel very midwinter. And so yeah, doing fire magic in some way. The Yule log could also be considered fire magic. Fire magic is just a really beautiful thing to do, and it also really honors the roots of this pagan Sabbath, the Celtic history of it all, just historically the true roots of paganism. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I also want to remind you that I do have a shadow work video and a free shadow work workbook, and I really recommend that as a resource during this time of the year. It could be of a lot of assistance to you as you descend within yourself and prepare to bring your light to the surface and step into your most authentic self. So definitely check that out if you're interested. So wishing you all a very Merry Yule, a very Merry Christmas if that's what you're celebrating, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.